The Con Artist's Painting by Tessa Shea. "And you're quite sure the painting won't be damaged?" Gertrude Havisham's voice quavered as she hovered nervously behind the truck. Buck Wheatley put on his most reassuring smile. "Of course, ma'am," he said soothingly, sincerity oozing from every word. "We here at Barnum Antiquities take the utmost pride in ensuring that all the goods we transport make it safely to their destinations." Buck spoke in the practiced tone of an experienced and competent delivery man. He'd spent the last few days fully preparing for this role, and he was confident in his ability to play the part. Not that the old lady in front of him was exactly a difficult mark. She was practically asking to be taken advantage of, and Buck was happy to oblige. Anyway, the old biddy wasn't exactly strapped for cash, judging by the sparkling diamonds adorning her ears. Buck had an excellent eye for quality, carefully cultivated over his years as a con artist, and those earrings looked to be worth a pretty penny. It was almost worth trying to lift them as well, but he'd been in the business for a long time and he knew when not to push his luck. The old lady piped up once again, her tremoring voice interrupting Buck's musings. "Oh, I'm sure you know what you're doing, dearie, and you look like a very strong young lad," she said, reaching up to pat Buck's chest. "I would just hate for it to be damaged. You see, Barwick-on-the-Moor has been in our family for generations." Buck had to stifle a laugh. If this old bat's family hadn't realised what a gold mine they'd been sitting on all that time, they clearly didn't deserve it. It was nothing special to look at, he'd grant them that, but anyone with an even passing appreciation for the arts should have recognised the rather cloyingly charming painting of Barwick Village for what it was, an 1878 Lestrade du Montpetit. There were very few surviving paintings from Montpetit's early years, and in Buck's capable hands, the painting could sell to the right bidder for well over £1 million. And with the current owner being so technologically illiterate that she hadn't realised that Barnum Antiquities was the invention of a late-night website development and a few flyers, she didn't deserve the painting in the first place. When he'd heard that Gertrude Havisham, Barwick's resident billionaire dowager, was looking to transport a painting, he'd expected a decent payload from the con job, but not something as once-in-a-lifetime as this. Smiling down at the old lady, he climbed back up into the somewhat decrepit truck he'd spray-painted with the generic-looking Antiques logo the previous day. "Don't worry, ma'am," he said, releasing the handbrake as he started the truck's engine. "No one could take better care of this painting than me." After what should have been a 1-hour trip, Buck staggered up the 2 flights of stairs leading to his apartment, lugging the unwieldy painting. He'd only been driving for 30 minutes when his somewhat dodgy second-hand truck had broken down, leaving him stranded in the middle of the countryside. The early morning had been pleasant enough, but black rain clouds had gathered, making the long wait for the mechanic a wet and miserable one. There had been no way for him to get back any sooner. The only car he'd seen during his 2-hour wait had ignored his outstretched thumb as he stood by the side of the road, managing instead to splash a large puddle of muddy water all over him. The mechanic had finally arrived, and after babbling some jargon about a leak in the radiator, had left Buck to endure a slow and uncomfortable drive home. Now he was damp, tired, and sorely in need of a long shower. Groaning, he reached his apartment and stopped abruptly, seeing that his door had been left slightly ajar. He instinctively checked his chest pocket and felt a wave of panic as he realised that his keys were missing. Pushing the door open sharply, he rushed into the apartment and felt his stomach drop as he beheld a completely empty room. He stared wildly around the interior. Gone were his antique furniture, the rare books that had been waiting on a buyer, as well as his own carefully curated art collection. The only thing in the otherwise bare apartment was a small envelope lying on the floor in front of him. Numbly, he stooped down to pick it up. There was one sheet of paper inside, with a short message written in a crabbed, spidery hand. It read, "Don't feel too bad, dearie. Some buyers will pay £100 or so for a decent Mon Petit forgery. I must also apologise for tinkering with your truck, although that radiator did look to be on its last legs already. Do your research next time. Gertrude Havisham is currently on holiday in Vancouver."